So today I took a story from your leveled readers. This is a 4th grade story. You have a picture that's taken from your leveled reader. So I want you to look at that picture. I'm not going to tell you what the title is. I'm not going to tell you what the words are in the story, what the story is about. Right now I want you to spend about 1 minute just looking at the picture quietly to yourself. I want you to figure out, what do you see in that picture? What is happening in that picture? But you're only looking at the picture right now and making some predictions. Now you've had about a minute to look at the picture. Let's record some of our observations. Everybody put your finger on the word observation. Observation. Let's read what it says. What? Read it with me. Ready? Read.
What do you see?
And that's an observation, is what do you see in the picture? So I want you to go ahead and think about something you see in the picture and turn and talk to your partner about some of the things you see in the picture.
But they're searching for free.
Great discussion. So now it's your turn to share with me, and then I'm going to record. I'm going to write down your observations. After I write down everyone's observations, you get to pick maybe 2 or 3 that you want to copy and write down. Okay, so first we'll share out. I'll write them down. If you think it's an observation that you agree with or you like, you can copy down the same sentence. Nice. Tell me one more thing you see in the picture.
There's a clownfish camouflage right there.
Wow, did you hear what he said? He said, there's a clownfish camouflaged over there. Let's write that down. I'm going to underline some vocabulary words that he mentioned. He said clownfish. You might not know what a clownfish is, but we're going to learn about it. And he used a big word, camouflaged. Okay. So I'm going to ask Azella type questions that come on the speaking test. Tell me one more thing about the picture.
There's a turd on the background.
The background. Beautiful vocabulary. Okay, you can start recording now. There are 3 observations on there. Are there any other observations that you have? You can go ahead and write it down. You don't have to have my observations. If you have something else that you noticed about the picture, go ahead and read it together. Ready and read.
What do you want to know?
So what do you want to know about this picture? Maybe you have a question. Maybe you don't know one of the words that were used. And now is your time to ask. So I want you to think of 2 questions about the picture. So go ahead and quietly think about 2 questions about the picture. Where? When? Okay, so now we're going to ask questions. So this really helps students know the difference between a question and a statement. So now I want you to think of a question. My question was, where are the fish going? Okay, so I want you to think of your question, and when you're ready with your question, give me a thumbs up so I know to call you. Think of a question about the picture. What would you like to know? What is happening? All right, so right here, tell me a question about the picture.
Why is a clownfish camouflaged?
Nice question. So I'm going to write that down, and I want you to copy it. Why is the clownfish camouflaged? Nice question. Ask me another question about the picture. Is the fish going? All right, I have a question to ask you. Remember one of your friends said they are in a coral reef? Do you know how a coral reef is formed? Oh, you're shaking your head. So could that be our question?
How did the coral reef grow?
Because that's where they're swimming, right? We want to know how that grows. How did the coral reef develop? Our observations. We first started with, what do we see in the picture? The second step is, what kind of questions do you have about the picture? Now we get to do the fun bit. Let's make some connections. How does this connect with something you know? Where have you seen something like this? Think. Where have you seen something like that? Yes?
In Finding Dory, Finding Nemo.
So you've seen it in Finding Dory and Finding Nemo, the movies. Could you have seen this? Yes?
We went to an aquarium
You went to an aquarium. You might have seen this. So you saw. Have any of you read it in a book? Seen it in a picture book?
Oh yeah, I did.
saw that and then TV.
Or you saw it on TV? SpongeBob. Okay, yes, he lives in a book, so we've made connections. We are building background. I want to see what you know before we get into the text. All right, now here's the more difficult part of building a pictorial input chart. We're going to have to make an inference. An inference is, what do you think is going to happen next? What do you think is happening in this picture?
Fish is camouflaging because he, shark is trying to eat him.
How many of you agree with that?
I agree. Beautiful.
What do you think I'm going to put over here? They're looking for food in the blank blank. What am I thinking of? It's in here somewhere. Where did I say they were? They're in the sea, but they're in a specific place.
An aquarium.
Well, this is not an aquarium. It could be. It could be an aquarium. You're right. But this is in the sea. Okay. When I go 1, 2, 3, tell me the answer. 1, 2, 3.
Cory!
You're so smart. Pat yourself on the back. So we just finished building our pictorial input chart. Now we're going to look at the text, and we're going to pick apart the vocabulary, and we're going to sort it into 3 groups. And I'm going to tell you what the groups are going to be. So the first thing I'm going to do is pass out the text. Okay? You're going to circle words that you don't know how to pronounce, and you're going to circle words that you know how to read, but you don't know what it means. Give me a thumbs up if you know the directions. That's what this whole activity is about. So you're going to scan the text, and you're going to circle words that you don't know. Do not talk to your partner. I don't want your partners to tell you what the words mean. This is where we're going to learn the words together. Together. So the first reading is always done by the students, independent reading, because we need to make sure you have a chance to read the text first. It shouldn't always be the teacher reading first. Okay, so the first reading is independent student reading. All right, now the second reading is now I'm going to model for you, and you're going to read with me. But you've already circled your words and identified the vocabulary that you don't know. So they can reach the polyps. For them, this is just a meal. But it also keeps the coral from growing too. So we've read the story twice. First you read it by yourself, then you read it with me, right? Do you feel that now you're understanding the story a little bit better the more times we read it? Give me a thumbs up if you feel like now you can picture this better in your head. Because now you've heard me read it with you. Okay, good. Now we're going to go deeper, and we're going to look at the words you picked. And we're going to analyze the words you picked from the text. Okay? So you're going to have 2 papers side by side now. You're going to have your tiered vocabulary next to the passage. In English, we can sort our vocabulary into 3 groups. Okay? We have easy words, which are tier 1 words. These are the words we use every day, like our high frequency words, words that we use when we speak. Those are tier 1 words. So those are your easy words. Everybody say easy words.
Easy words.
Fancy words, those are a little bit more difficult. People don't use them all the time. Those are your tier 2 words. Fancy words, say fancy words.
Fancy words.
And then tier 3 words are science words, social studies words, and say a type of word. You tell me, does it go in tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3? Okay, ready? Easy words. Which tier?
Tier 1.
Tier 1, everybody say that. Tier 1.
Tier 1.
Fancy words, where do they go?
Tier 2.
Beautiful. Science words. Everyone ready and read. The reef has many different habitats. Let's stop right there. On that sentence, which words do you think are kind of tricky words? So let's look at just that sentence.
Wait, a tricky word about habitat?
Habitat. Everybody agree? Habitat is a tricky word? Okay. Now, habitat. What do you think? Where should we put that word habitat? Is that a tier 1 word, an easy word? Do we use habitat every day? No.
Sometimes.
Well, maybe some of you who speak very well, you might, but I don't think it's a word we use all the time. Habitat. Where should we put that word? It's a fancy word, and it's a fancy word for something. Do you know what it's a fancy word for? It says the reef is A habitat is for, the reef has many different habitats. Maybe we don't know what the word habitat means yet, but let's write it down. Habitat. Habitat. Anyone have a clue about what it is since we read the passage twice? It's a home for animals. He's absolutely right. So home would be the easy word. Habitat would be our,
Fancy.
say that again,
Fancy.
fancy word. Everybody say it's a fancy word.
Fancy word.
So is it a tier 1 word or tier 2 word or tier 3? Tier 2. What would be the tier 1 word for habitat? He just said it. It's a fancy word for, so it is your,
House.
it is your house or your home. So home, where should I put home? Tier 1 word or tier 2 or tier 3? Help me. It's an easy word, tier 1, you're both right. So home and habitat, look at that. We've already figured out that habitat is a fancy word for the word home. We're picking apart vocabulary, okay? So let's look at that sentence again. It says the reef has many different habitats. What about the word reef? What do you think about the word reef? Where should I put that word? I'm going to give you this word. You're going to go ahead and put it up there. I'm going to give you this word. What's this word?
Many.
Many. You go put that up there. Where do you think it belongs? Here's a clue. Sight words that you have to learn, your high frequency words, would be your tier 1 words. Okay? Reef. Where would you find a reef? Is this a fancy word or is it a science word?
Science word.
It's a science word. So where do I have to move this word?
Science.
Tier 3. Tier 3. Yep, it's a many. Tier 3 word. What would be the easier word for the word many? I have many books. I have a lot. Okay, I'll take that.
That's a lot. Fancy.
I have a lot. Okay, so lot would be, so go here. So is that a number? Yes, it's a number, right? That's a number, so it goes there. All right, take a look up here. Let's discuss what we have so far. So let's look at the vocabulary here. In tier 1, these are simple words, words we use every day in our speaking. These could be high frequency words. Home. Everybody agree, tier 1?
Yes.
Lot.
Yes.
Many.
Yes.
Other.
Yes.
Total.
Yes.
How many of you think the word total needs to come to tier 2? Okay, so what's another word you use instead of total? The total, that would be like the sum, right? What do you use instead of total?
Whole.
Oh, she uses whole. Wow. To me, that's a harder word. So I'm going to put, see how the discussion is, it's bringing up great discussion. So she said whole. Look at that. We are coming up with synonyms. And this activity could be used for your speaking and listening or your vocabulary block for your 60 minutes. So I'm going to put total and whole next to each other. We have 22 species because it has a number in the word species. It belongs here. 2 million is a content-specific word. It's specific to math. So that's why it goes here. And this is just on the reef. Keep reading. Together, they form a large ecosystem. Say that word, ecosystem.
Ecosystem.
There we go. Good. So I'm going to write it here. I can use Post-its or I can actually write directly on my chart. 2,000. Okay, here's the next one. Together. Do we use that word together a lot? Is it a tier 1 word, tier 2, or tier 3? What do you think? Discuss it. What do you think? Tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3? Show me with your fingers what your answer is going to be. Oh, I see a lot of 2s. I see some 3s. I think we're going to go with 2. Together. So, together. They form a large ecosystem. The word form. Where should I put that word form? Show me with your fingers. Where do you think? Tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3? The word is form. They form a large ecosystem. Form, I think you're right, because in this sense it is a science word, right? And it can also be a tier 2 word. They form a large ecosystem. To make a large ecosystem, to form a large ecosystem. It can go in both places. And let's look at the last word, ecosystem. That has a prefix in it. The word eco means habitat or surrounding. And an ecosystem, so we have the prefix, we have a prefix, we have eco, and we have system. So here is the prefix eco. Eco means habitat or surrounding. Everybody say eco.
Eco.
What does eco mean?
Surrounding
or habitat. Say that again.
Surrounding or habitat.
And has many different habitats. So all these different habitats, when they come together, make one big habitat or an ecosystem. An ecosystem is made up of many, many habitats of different animals. It's a tricky word. Some of you are putting up 5 fingers because it's such a tricky word, right? Ecosystem. Ecosystem. All right. So this is an activity we do only for special stories where these are units of study that we will read a lot about. We don't do it with every single topic. We do it with big units, okay? So today let's review what we've done. We started off with building background, right? By looking at a picture. Then we read the text. We started to circle words we didn't know. Then we discussed the vocabulary by grouping the words into 3 groups, right? We had a lot of discussion. We decided as a group where the words would go. Now, when we go back to read the text, we'll have a bigger understanding of what each word means, right?